Okay, so the Aer Lingus College Football Classic is back next year. Northwestern Wildcats are taking on the Nebraska Huskers at the Aviva Stadium on Saturday, the 27th of August, 2022. And I'm delighted to welcome Sean Callahan to the show. Sean is a Nebraska football correspondent. He is the publisher of HuskerOnline.com. You can check out his podcast. You can check him out on social media. Delighted to say that he is with us right now. Sean, how are you getting on?
This is great. I mean, obviously, I've never been to Ireland, and I'm looking forward to coming back in August. But just getting a taste of what Nebraska fans are going to see here. I mean, this is an unbelievable experience.
You are in Port Marnock right now, we should say. You are not in Lincoln, Nebraska. I presume you're a little bit jet lagged. You're just getting used to the environment.
I've got small children at home, so I'm used to wake up calls at all hours of the night. But yeah, the jet lag. I'll tell you, when you get out here and you just see Dublin, the jet lag goes away right away. I mean, we got a couple of hours of sleep, but I think getting outside in this cold air right on the golf course got us going right away, and just so excited to be out here and get a sneak preview of what this is going to be like in August.
Yeah, because when we were over in Northwestern University last month, there was a real sense of Coach Fitz when he was telling us about the players. So this is an amazing opportunity for these players, for these young men to come over and see a different part of the world. And as you say, they're stepping off the plane and being in a sense where this is actually game day. This is actually going to be a place that's going to be taken over by Nebraska and Northwestern fans. It is close to a once-in-a-lifetime experience for these young student athletes.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you go to a bowl game if you have a good season, and a bowl trip is like a week-long trip. You might go to Florida, you might go to Texas, you might go to California. Well, this is a bowl trip on steroids. I mean, you get to go to Ireland for a week, and you get to experience something that a lot of these players can never afford or be able to maybe do. So the cultural experience, I think a lot of these players maybe 10, 20 years from now are going to realize, wow, I was very fortunate to have this type of opportunity to go over here and get really a first-class red carpet experience and play a football game. And for the fans, I mean, you're talking 15, 20,000 Nebraska fans. Ideally, that will make the trip to Ireland. And, we're a state of just under 2 million people, at 1.9 million people on an average game day. 1 out of 20 people that live in the state of Nebraska are in Memorial Stadium.
That is a crazy figure. What did I hear somewhere that it's like the third biggest population base on game day in the state?
Yeah, so Omaha and Lincoln are the two largest cities. Omaha's about 800,000, Lincoln's about 300,000. Memorial Stadium on game day pushes 90,000. So it is really incredible. And no matter what Nebraska's record is, the fans show up. I mean, even this year was a tough season. The final game of the year against Iowa, it was the toughest ticket. I mean, as far as like the street value, people were still paying $150 to go to Nebraska's final game of the year against Iowa.
That's crazy. So talk us through why that is. Why does this football team hold such a big place in the hearts of Nebraskans?
Well, Nebraskans just have a lot of pride. I think the way the football is played here, it's blue collar, it's hard work, it's toughness, and that is how Nebraskans really see themselves. And it's a way to show that our way of doing things wins on the big stage. And Nebraska is known for winning the national championships 20 years ago. They've won 5 in their history. And you talk about the recruits in college football. Recruiting athletes is a big part of the game. Nebraska has far less access to the top recruits. So it's a lot harder to get players to Nebraska because of their geographic location in terms of their access to maybe some of the better players that live in Florida and California and Texas. And they're still able to obviously have a tradition-rich program that has produced 3 Heisman Trophy winners, multiple Outland Trophy winners, which is given to the best linemen. You can go on and on. I mean, the number of records and historical traditions, people just have a lot of pride because this speaks to the type of place and the type of people that come from this state.
So there is this sense of other states perhaps having this air of we're a bigger state than you, we're a better resource state than you, we're better than you, but Nebraskans are saying, no, that is not the case. I mean, you may have more money than us and greater resources than us, and you may be a more populous state by a distance, but our football team will go toe-to-toe with you on the day. I presume that's the sort of level of pride that just increases on game.
No doubt. In Northwestern, it's funny, the game has moved over here, and the joke with Nebraskans is they moved it here because Northwestern was getting tired of Nebraska taking over their stadium. Nebraska fans have routinely gone into Chicago and taken 60% of their stadium. So you would go to a game there and there would be more Nebraska fans, 30,000, 25,000 Nebraska fans at the Northwestern Stadium. And the first year of the Big Ten Conference, Pat Fitzgerald, they didn't have any idea it would be like that. Northwestern had to move into a silent snap count because the crowd noise was so loud in their own stadium, they couldn't hear when they were on offense.
Right. Well, that's interesting because I was out mixing amongst the Northwestern fans at the tailgate beforehand. They may have had a couple of beers in them, but they all seemed pretty confident that they would be buying tickets to get over to Ireland next year. So maybe this is actually going to be a pretty big challenge for Nebraska to actually overcome the noise that Northwestern are going to bring next year as well.
Yeah, it's a really big season for both programs. I mean, Nebraska, they went 3-9, but they lost all of their games by 9 points or less. They were tied with the Big Ten champion Michigan in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, and Michigan kicked a field goal to beat them at the very end. I mean, so Nebraska was right there from having a breakthrough season, but they fell short. But there's a lot of pressure now on them to win next year. And for Northwestern, they had a very down season after almost winning the Big Ten the previous year. So for both of these programs playing this game, they call it week 0. It means so much to catapult your season because you don't want to start with the bogey on the golf card week 1. I mean, you want to get out of the gates with a win. And last year Nebraska had Illinois on the same very week and dropped it. It was a huge upset in that respect, and it kind of affected their season. So for both of these teams, winning this game in Ireland really could set the stage for their entire season.
Can you talk us through that week 0 factor and how much more of a spotlight will be on this game as a result of it being week 0?
Yeah, for week 0, only so many teams are allowed to play. You have to have a special waiver, and being in Dublin, you get a waiver for this game. So naturally, you're going to get an audience in the States of 3, 4, 5 million viewers that will watch this game. Where if this game was on during the regular season on a regular Saturday, you may get 1 million viewers, but it probably takes the viewership audience and quadruples it, or maybe makes it 5 times bigger than what normally would see this game, because it is literally the first true football game in America from the NFL and college football. The week 0 game that happens right here in Dublin is the first game that really has any meaning that's played for the 2022 season.
Walk us through what Memorial Stadium more importantly, outside Memorial Stadium is like on game day. What's the tailgate experience like and the culture around game days?
Well, it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Tailgating is as a big a part of it, because what a game day Saturday does, it's more than the game. It allows people to have an excuse to see your longtime friend you went to school with, or your college friends, or your roommates, or your cousin, or your uncle, or your father. It brings people together. And tailgates at a Nebraska game, people spend tens of thousands of dollars on their tailgate setups with, extravagant TVs being placed, satellite dishes at their tailgate, grills, catering, you name it. I mean, the tailgating each and every year has become bigger and bigger. And, for college football, I mean, I think that is the difference. The two Johnnies were with us a couple of weeks ago in Lincoln, and I think that's what really blew them away was the level of tailgating you see at an American college football game versus maybe what you would see over here in Ireland for soccer or a rugby match.
And I presume then in the stadium, the atmosphere, especially after a win, is just insane.
Oh yeah, if you can get a big win, I mean, people are buzzing for the whole week, but after the game, the party just goes on and on and on. And I mean, even at church on Sunday after a game, people are in a really good mood still. And when Nebraska loses on Sunday, I mean, everyone's got their heads down and walking around. So it really does have an impact on the day-to-day life of Nebraska if they win or lose a football game.
And I presume nobody's showing up to church the day after a Nebraska win.
Oh yeah, no, you always know, like I said, when Nebraska wins, church is full on Sunday, the restaurants are full, everyone's happy, you go to work smiling. And coincidentally, Nebraska's last win last year came against Northwestern, and they beat Northwestern 56-3 in Lincoln. It was Northwestern's worst loss they had suffered under Pat Fitzgerald, and that was the game that really people had a lot of optimism that Nebraska had turned a corner. And unfortunately, the next week they dropped that heartbreaking game to Michigan.
It's an amazing thing when you talk about the reunions, the tailgate, the real family culture that exists outside these stadiums. It is just something totally unique that we don't have in Irish or in European sport in general. And being able to now take that and paste it into an entirely alien environment like Dublin will be, that must be such an exciting prospect as somebody who's a Nebraska fan and loves to enjoy the game days.
Yeah, everybody in Nebraska feels a piece of the program. And one of the unique things about Nebraska, too, is they have a walk-on program. And if you're not familiar with what a walk-on is, they're players that join the team as non-scholarship, meaning they pay their own tuition, they pay their own housing. And there's a lot of small communities around Nebraska, towns of 1,000 people, 500 people, and they might have a walk-on player from those towns on the team. And there's a level of investment from the biggest communities in the state to the smallest communities of the state, because you might have a guy from your town on the roster. And if he gets on the field and plays, like there's a kid on the team that plays special teams from Binkelman, Nebraska, which is a small ranching community. He grew up on a ranch and he runs down and plays on special teams for Nebraska. And, there's stories like that make Nebraska different than a lot of places, because of every little community, I think, feels like they're a part of this when they get a guy like that on the field.
Right. Very interesting. So what's the plan for the rest of your trip in Ireland? You've just touched down this morning. Anything on the list?
Well, we're gonna go to obviously the Jameson. We're gonna go to the Guinness and do all the stuff that you want to do when you're in Dublin. I'm really excited though about Saturday. We're gonna go see a Champions League rugby match in Aviva Stadium. So we'll get a feel for Aviva Stadium and kind of get a better idea of what we're going to experience back in August. And obviously, I've never been to a rugby match, so there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to about that.
Nice one. Well, there isn't going to be a tailgate, but hopefully you'll get a good bit of sport inside the stadium. Listen, Sean, it's been great chatting to you. I'm sure we'll catch up again before the end of your trip or next year when you're back in Ireland again. Yeah, this has been Sean Callahan. He's a Nebraska football correspondent. You can check out his work on huskeronline.com. I'm sure there's plenty of people at home who are going to hop on to Nebraska or the Northwestern bandwagons between now and next year. And just a reminder, it is the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, and it's Northwestern Wildcats against the Nebraska Huskers. It takes place on week 0, which is Saturday, 27th of August, 2022 at the Aviva Stadium. Sean Callahan, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.